Melchizedek Edward Steichen. He was an American born on March 27th, 1879, and he died on March 25th, 1973. This is a coated gum bichromate over platinum print. It was one of the Alfred Stieglitz collections in 1933. One of the quotes that he would say was, "When the shutter clicks, anything else that can be done afterwards is not worth consideration." I think what he meant by was when he took the photograph, the only thing that mattered was the subject, and that's what he focused clearly on. His biographical information: he was born 1879. He immigrated to the United States with his parents from Luxembourg in 1881. He then lived in Michigan and then moved to Milwaukee in 1889. He was an apprentice as a designer for a lithographic company in Milwaukee. He was a lieutenant colonel and commanded the photographic division of aerial photography in the American Expeditionary Forces during World War I. During his time, he also helped organize a art students league. He started off as a painter and then switched over to photography shortly after World War I. He died in 1973. His photographic career: he became a photographer. When he was young, his father gave him a camera, and he started taking pictures, and then he got really into photography at that moment. But in 1899, he studied with a local photographer. He entered his first exhibition at the Second Salon of Philadelphia. He gave up painting shortly after to focus mainly on photography only. He worked alongside Alfred Stieglitz in a gallery called the Little Galleries. He also worked a lot doing fashion photography, commercial photography for Vanity Fair and Vogue. He was the director of the photography department at the Museum of Modern Art. Also, very dominant in the photo session and high fashion photography, and very a major part in the pictorial movement. One of his finest works was published, The Family of Man, in 1952, and during that time he went to 29 cities and 11 European countries. The first photograph is of Alfred Stieglitz that he took, and that was at the 291 Club in 1915. It was a coated gum bichromate over platinum print. This one is a Balzac Toward the Light, Midnight in 1908. It was a direct carbon print. And this was a Steeplechase Day Paris, the Grandstand, printed in 1911 but took in 1907. It was also a direct carbon print. A little bit of the story behind that: it was taken at the Longchamps races. It was taken of the society audience, all dressed up. Ended up being a very fashionable photograph of how people were dressed at the races, and he loved the scenery and the surroundings and the way people looked. The next photograph is Princess Yusupov. It was taken in 1924. It was a gelatin silver print. And during this is very dramatic, very soft but dark. You can tell by the expression on her face, very long and drawn, sad look. And this, he was very into taking self-portraits. This one is called Self-Portrait with Photographic Paraphernalia. It's a 1929 silver print. Looks to be a picture taken in his studio with the surroundings. Like I said, he was very into taking self-portraits. This photograph is called The Flat Iron, created in 1904. It was a gum bichromate over platinum print. It was one of the museum's collections. A lot of the color and just the overall, like the twilight, the colors, the composition of the whole picture got a little bit of the entire city. This is called the Vulangus in 1902 or 1902 platinum print. It's a picture of softly misty woods taken in France. It was in a small town just east of Paris, and eventually he ended up buying a house near that town. This is called Rodin the Eve. It's a 1907 autochrome. The picture is of a sculptor named Rodin with one of his creations sculpture. It was taken in his studio. Edward Steichen was the first and only American that he let into his studio to photograph his work. This is a picture of the time-space continuum, 1920. It's a medium gelatin silver print. And this picture he took following his service in World War One. He was a chief of the Allied aerial reconnaissance photography. Um, he had a very successful career as a chief photographer for the Condé Nast magazines. So this is one photograph that he took capturing the abstraction, giving abstract meaning to literal photographs. And this picture is of Cyclamen, Miss Philip Lydig, 1905. It was a medium direct carbon print. This was also during his high fashion or fashion photography that he was doing. So the lady is very dressed in the clothing fashion that she had on. And this is a picture of J. Piermont Morgan, 1903, printed in 1909. It was a gunbreaker made over platinum print. The next one is another self-portrait of Edward Steichen. It was taken in 1917. It was a medium platinum print. This one is a collection online. It was Brancusi's studio. It was also taken in the corner of Brancusi's studio. Edward Steichen came in to get pictures of his work that he did. So this shows a little bit of his work. It's caught in the photograph. And it was a medium gelatin silver print. This is the Brass Bowl, medium direct carbon print. This is the Black Vase, dated 1901 but printed in 1902, medium direct carbon print. The significance of his work was he was a photographer and a painter. He started off as a painter, but then shortly after he got out of the World War I, he switched to photography. Very dominant figure in the pictorial movement. He worked often using commercial photography. He was very famous for his work also in fashion photography with Vogue and Vanity Fair. He used soft yet dramatic images, focuses a lot on the subject. He created The Family Man. It was one of his most famous works that he's known for. And he was the 20th century preeminent photographer. And this is the photography life of Edward Steichen.